Good morning. This is Kathleen Clow with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, July 24th, 2026. Today's fire potential headlines include continued mixed and wet thunderstorms across the eastern half of the basin, lingering through the weekend but decreasing in coverage daily, which will bring a lightning risk but also increase cloud cover and higher relative humidities across those parts of the region. Despite the precipitation potential, temperatures will remain hot, with breezy and dry conditions returning to the western edge of the Great Basin today, carrying the risk for holdovers due to recent lightning. A fuel and fire behavior advisory remains in effect for eastern Nevada, much of Utah, and the Arizona Strip. And basin-wide, we expect continued higher initial attack due to lightning across the basin, but less large fire potential due to recent conditions. Fuels will begin to start drying in the north and west late this week, as well as across eastern Utah. Putting that to a map today, you can see we've got that area of hot and dry conditions across the west, as well as that mixed storm potential across the east, and also some breezy conditions and low RH expected in those orange areas with smoke impacts in gray there. Those orange areas will expand through Saturday and Sunday to include much of northern central Idaho, a large portion of western Nevada, as well as a portion of eastern Nevada and southwestern Utah there. We will still continue to see those hot and dry conditions across those areas, as well as the potential for some pop-up storms in the higher elevations through Sunday. For our current watches and mornings, you can see some heat advisories on the map due to those hot temperatures, as well as some extreme heat watches up there in northern Utah, as well as some extreme heat warnings down in the Vegas and Arizona Strip areas. Our last 24 hours of precipitation, you could see some precip over central Nevada there, as well as moving across central Idaho. We had some heavier pockets of rain up there, kind of near Boise, as well as some scattered pop-up storms at the higher elevations in Utah. With all of that, we did receive quite a bit of lightning, some of which was on the drier side, leading to IA and potential for holdovers with these upcoming conditions. Over the last 7 days, you can see a lot of areas have received a decent amount of precipitation, but do take note of those areas in the blue color, kind of up in the Payette area and Idaho areas, and that's where we'll be issuing some wind risks and just concerns for lightning holdovers over the next few days. Over the past 24 hours, the Great Basin had 10 new starts for a total of 147.1 acres and a large fire growth of 2 acres. Satellite this morning shows mostly clear skies across much of the basin with some lingering smoke there moving into Idaho, as well as some remaining storm activity over northern Utah there. Our areas of heaviest smoke impacts over the next 2 days will continue to be across Idaho from all of those Oregon fires, as well as some lighter impacts across parts of Nevada from ongoing California wildfires. But overall, the main concern will be up to the north. Forecast fire conditions include high ERC values across the northern portion of the basin, with values below 80% across much of the southern half of the basin. You can see, however, in the next 3 days, those ERC values are forecast to climb basin-wide, especially up in the Payette. You can see there we'll be approaching the 90 to 97th percentile, and then for the southern Sierra front, similar as well, approaching that kind of 90th percentile mark with all of this drying. Today, we still carry a risk for those pop-up storms. You can see that kind of in those black areas on our upper air maps. But overall, the main thing to note is this massive dry air making its way into the basin, which will cause some warming and drying starting from the west and moving east, as well as a high wind risk on Saturday and Sunday for those northern portions of central Idaho there. Wind-wise, we still carry a concern for those gusty outflow winds, which you can see in the pink there, but also some areas of higher winds in the greens and oranges, especially in the northern portions of the basin there. And of course, in northern Idaho, where we've got that wind risk. You can see for our RHs, we're back into the single digits in some areas today, and that area of single digit RH will expand through Sunday, and drier air will continue pushing to the east. And you can see we'll continue to have lower RHs day after day basin wide. For our forecasted precip, those scattered storms that we expect to see in some areas of the basin may carry up to 2 10 7 inch, but overall they will not be as wet as they have been. Really more just kind of pop-up storms that we'll see with brief bursts of rain also carrying a lightning risk there. Temperature-wise, you can see a lot of triple digits on the map today, and that will continue through Sunday. Things will cool down a little bit across central Idaho by Sunday, but still high 90s, so still very hot overall. Looking to the long term Monday through Wednesday, biggest thing to note here, you can see that dark red portion of very dry air kind of settling into the western corner of the basin on Monday and expanding in size through Wednesday. So we're expecting some very, very dry conditions as well as a continued higher wind risk Monday and Tuesday across that northern portion of central Idaho up in those higher elevations where we carry that risk for those lightning holdovers. By Wednesday, you can see much of the basin will be in that moderate risk category as things continue to dry out, but we will see some precip potential across southern Utah, so maybe a little bit more recovery for them and a move to some little or no risk for those portions of southern Utah there in the Arizona Strip. Looking at our winds in RH, biggest concern Monday through Wednesday is those higher pockets of winds in the green and orange there, especially across the higher elevations of northern central Utah there on Tuesday. And also just again, the persistent single digit RH values, which will remain in place through Wednesday. You can see up around Boise, 11%. 10%, and even in the higher elevations in the low teens there in Idaho. The same is true for much of Nevada, as well as portions of Utah in those lower elevations will remain a little bit drier and maybe recover slightly on Wednesday with the rain potential, but overall very dry across the basin. For our forecast precip potential, you can see light chances Monday and Tuesday, but really a heavier chance for some precip across Utah there and the higher elevations of Wyoming, maybe a little bit in Idaho. So we'll see a little bit more accumulation on that on Wednesday. But overall, despite the rain chance, we're still expecting to see those triple digit to high 90 temperatures basin wide. Even in the lower elevations of Utah, you can see that 101 out east. So still remaining very, very hot across the basin through Wednesday. Summarizing our 7 days of precip, you can see we have more of a chance today that's a little more widespread for some up to 2/10 of an inch pockets of rain. And then that chance will decrease through Tuesday and start to kind of increase in coverage Tuesday evening into Wednesday, especially in those higher elevations across Utah and Wyoming. And then Thursday we'll have less of a chance of rain. So really not a whole lot of rain in the forecast for us with these super hot and dry conditions. Today through next week, you can see those areas of moderate risk begin to expand from west to east, covering much of the basin by Wednesday and Thursday. You can also see about 4 days in a row of those high wind risk triggers for the higher elevations of northern central Idaho there. We are concerned about some lightning holdover potential and also just how dry the fuels are up there. But overall, moderate risk for hot temperatures and low RHs. And then you can see a little bit of little or no risk start to creep back into the southern portion of Utah there, as we do expect some, maybe a little bit of monsoonal moisture to start popping back in on Wednesday and Thursday. But overall, pretty much moving to moderate risk for much of the basin throughout this week. For our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, the chance for above normal temperatures remains high for much of the basin. And then for our precipitation outlook, will be below normal chances across portions of northwestern Nevada and Idaho there, and then a chance for above normal precip across portions of Nevada and Utah, maybe with another monsoonal burst, but something to keep an eye on. That concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.